What's up, masculine people of YouTube? So I want to talk about how media, all sorts of media, is contributing to the emasculation of men as a whole, right? So Dave Chappelle touched on this subject with Oprah one time when he said he was in the middle of filming something and they brought a dress in and they wanted him to wear a dress, and he was adamant about not wearing the dress after he realized that at some point in every black person's career, once they became famous enough, that they would try to put him in a dress. And once that became clear to him, he was adamant about not wearing the dress. And he touched on a really interesting subject, and he was absolutely right about that. But he only skimmed the top of that iceberg, because that's the case with all prominent actors, black, white, indifferent. Arnold Schwarzenegger gave birth to a baby in a film, right? The Terminator, the Governator, had a movie where he gave birth. Almost every single action movie hero star, anyone who's taken consistent, prominent, masculine roles at some point in their career, and sometimes off screen, they're always emasculated to a certain degree that's uncomfortable to watch. At least for me. Now, why is this even important? Why do I even give a fuck about this, right? Well, it actually means a lot, because there's so many people in the world that, men and women, when we're all raised, not everybody has great parents. Not everybody has great parental advice as they're growing up. Not everyone has great parental figures. It doesn't even have to be their parents, just adult figures in their life that are helping them grow up and become successful adults. And I don't just mean successful in terms of money, successful in terms of the people they are, their confidence, who they think they are, how they function in the world, their mental health, their physical health, right? Now, no one can deny that media doesn't have an effect on people. Of course it has an effect on people. That's why we watch media. That's why we play video games. That's why we listen to music. That's why we read books, right? Because we're gaining something from it. It's not always in our face clear that what we're gaining, but we're most definitely gaining something. And if you're a kid growing up and you connect to a certain actor just because in the screenplay they happen to embody a certain attitude or a character or a culture or a way of thinking that sparks your, I want to say, interest and desire to obtain that same characteristics, right? Down the line, let's say 5 years, 10 years down the line, you see that same masculine actor, let's say like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who suddenly is in a role where he's completely feminized, he's completely pregnant, and completely has a kid, right? What do you think that does to someone's psyche? Do you think that kind of fucks them up? Do you think that makes them question themselves, right? Because if they worked on themselves and obtained the certain characteristics that they they found valuable, and then suddenly that masculine person is completely emasculated. Do you think that fucks them up a little bit? And it works on the other side too, for women. For example, if they're looking up to a certain actress that embodies the person they want to be, and I mean, as a little girl, it embodies the person they want to be. That just so happens to be the best example of a role model that person has. Because a lot of people are raised in fucked up situations, places, surroundings, right? And then suddenly that person turns out to be 180 degrees different than the person they thought that these people were, right? And I'll give you examples as I go through this. So, I like Marvel movies, right? I like to suspend my reality to a certain extent. So I like, let's say, the X-Men and a lot of these former comic book turned films, movies. Wolverine is a major character that a lot of people are attached to in so many different ways, right? Hugh Jackman plays that role incredibly and embodies Wolverine tremendously, especially later on, like his last one, where he was playing that character for the last time. Now, a lot of people don't know that Hugh Jackman is gay in the real world. Some people are going to say, well, he's married and he has kids. Well, it is what it is. Whether you want to say he's bisexual or you want to say he's gay, it is what it is. Alright? How do I know this? Because I grew up in Hollywood. And growing up in Hollywood, you hear a lot of things that doesn't necessarily make it to media. And it's not supposed to make it to media because there's hundreds of millions of dollars riding on this person's character, and for their character, for something as extreme as their sexual preference, like can dramatically change ticket sales and views and whatnot in regards to the films they make, because it kind of takes away from the masculinity of Wolverine when you find out Wolverine is gay, right? Like, the story plot becomes more questionable, like when he's in love with Jean Grey and all this stuff and the effect she has on him, right? So, is this done by accident? Is this done on purpose? Because I could give endless examples of how they're fucking with people's heads subliminally, right? I mean, when you take an international superstar like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, without a doubt, he, in my mind, replaced Arnold Schwarzenegger as the top action superstar. But when you watch videos of him with Kevin Hart, where he's literally cradling Kevin Hart, another man, literally kissing him and talking about homosexual relationships and whatnot. What do you think that does to the kids that were looking up to The Rock as a symbol of masculinity in their life? You think that has an effect? And I'm not bashing gay people whatsoever. At all. At all. This has nothing to do with people being gay or not, or their rights to, or if that's your thing, that's who you are. It is what it is, and whatever floats your boat. I really don't give a fuck. It doesn't bother me. But I am aware of what it can do to someone's psyche when something as dramatic as, let's say, you find out your dad, your father, turns out to be gay. That will fuck with your head a little bit, right? Now, that's an extreme leap from your father ends up being gay to a action hero you're attached to turns out to be gay. Yeah, that's a far leap from one to another, but in terms of the youth growing up, a little kid growing up, and then the realization of these things, it's going to have an impact. And I wouldn't make this video if it was a rare situation. But it's not a rare situation. Almost every single masculine actor that I think is a masculine actor, every single one at some point in their career, regardless of race, ethnicity, culture, they're all emasculated, which is really weird, which makes it really hard to watch certain movies, especially when you like, for example, when I watch movies, I'll watch movies based on who produced the movie, who wrote the movie, who's starring in the movie, or how many people I like are starring in the movie, right? These are pretty good ideas of whether I'm gonna enjoy the film or not, right? So, like, if you're a Quentin Tarantino fan and he makes a new movie, you have a pretty good idea of what type of films he makes. If you're a Guy Ritchie fan, you have a pretty good idea of what type of movies he makes, right? And I can name a bunch of names, but my point is, and then suddenly that gets flipped upside down. I think they're subliminally fucking with people's heads. I really do believe they are. Is this happening to females as much as to the male actors? I'm not sure, and I'm not sure I can even answer that because I'm not a woman. I'm just a man. But I am a masculine man, and I take pride in that. And someone can argue about toxic masculinity and whatnot, and so many reasons for why someone would play around with masculinity and whatnot. But these are complex things that I think adults understand. But I don't think these are black and white things when it comes to kids. Even cartoons, right? Like when you see Bugs Bunny in a dress, when you watch, like, it's obvious they're programming us from youth to have a certain way of thinking, to have a certain way of acting, right? Like, not acting like in movies, but how you carry yourself in the real world, right? Music definitely correlates with that. Movies do too. Like, if you're a gangster, for example, I can guarantee the music you listen to is pretty gangsterish. And the types of movies you like, you do like gangster movies. That's not to say you don't like classical music. That's not to say you don't like romantic comedies, but I can definitely say you are interested in really well-made gangster films. Now, if you're a ballerina or whatever, a dancer, I could make the assumption that there are certain types of music you like that fits into that culture, and certain music you like that also fits in that culture. So there has to be a correlation between the things you like and the person you are. And I guess the core argument I'm making here is that when something is portrayed extremely different than it was, is a form of trauma. And I think that trauma is used to control people in one way, shape, or form. People that are afraid, people that are insecure, those people are way more easily manipulated than confident, well-rounded people. Therefore, it's in someone's interest to make people scared, to traumatize people, to fuck with their heads and whatnot. It's in their interest, and they can manipulate you for political reasons, for monetary gain, for sexual reasons, right? Like, if someone is gay or they're lesbian, I think they would want to put out more gay and lesbian things out there so that more people awaken to the idea of them having sex with the same sex, right? There's a sexual gain there. If you can convince someone, you're basically expanding the pool of people that you can fuck. That's my opinion. I may be wrong, maybe it's whatever. That's my opinion, you know? And none of it is meant to put people down. This is more of like, I want to discuss this and shed some light on it. And I would love to hear some people's counter arguments to it. Because at the end of the day, it's just me talking right now. There isn't someone else for me to have a back and forth and to have some type of a conclusion to this. So I have to end it on a question mark, hoping that you guys reply and we have a conversation as adults. Well, that being said, I'm going to end this, and I'll probably make a part 2 at some time, going more in depth and touching similar subjects in regards to this. And yeah, you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.